Another thing I can pull up the LED.
And the lucky Mark Burrito gets to follow him. Mark Burrito is the Director of Communications for the Electronic Literature Organization. His adaptive hypertext novella, A Show of Hands, was featured in the Electronic Literature Collection Volume 2, and he is also editor of Bunk magazine.
Everybody, so just want to first thank Dene and Lori and Kathi for a wonderful set of events that they put together, and the gallery and the mobile gallery as well. So if we give them a round of applause for this. And for those of you who just came in a little bit late, you missed that this is, again, one of the first of its kind here at MLA, and again, I think it really just brings electronic literature to the forefront, like we've been hoping for a very, very long time. So the piece I'm going to show to you guys, I'm a representative now of a piece written by a group that's now called LA Inundación, and it's made up of a number of people. This is the LA Flood Project, which a number of you guys have seen before. Tried to put some new material in here for those of you guys who've seen it in the past, but it's a work in progress, and I think it'll be a perpetual work in progress, so I guess, get used to it a little bit. So a couple of people I need to credit just to get started. This project grew out of, I guess, a brainstorm and sort of creative planning sessions with Jeremy Height, Lisa Ann Tao, Jeremy Douglas, and Wambi Gutierrez. Jeremy Height, you might know, began the form of locative media narrative, and this is a locative media narrative. I have to be careful because I gave a presentation on this at the University of Southern California not too long ago, and at the end of the presentation, some undergraduate raised her hand and said, "But what is the LA Flood Project?" So I'm going to try to be as clear as I can about this. There are a couple other people I want to credit. We've got a new set of writers working with us now, including the people I mentioned previously. There's also Nancy Taylor, Enzinga Clark, Abel Salas, Roberto Lenny, Danielle Olivas, and Ann Carson, among others. And we'll hear the voices of Jim Holmes, Michelle Ortiz, James Hurd. Just to give another little bit of background, this project was also, owes some of its inception to Stephanie Strickland, who, when she saw A Show of Hands, a sort of a staged reading of it, said, "Wow, if only you could get some of those voices for those." Well, actually, what she was trying to say was, your piece is much better performed by other people than you. And so I thought, oh, that's a good point. I should really look into that. A couple other things you should know about this piece. It's got a number of different forms. I don't know if that makes it transmedia or not. I'm not really an expert in that. But one of its forms is a Twitter performance that happened twice. It happened once during the LA Festival of Books, and it happened again this past October, where it happened for a week, where 80 plus participants created over 60,000 tweets to simulate a flood hitting Los Angeles. They just used the LA Flood hashtag, and I can scroll through a little bit of this perhaps, or not. Let's see. I'll sort of skip to the middle. Like 40 pages of this. Oh, there's me. So people are just tweeting what happened to them during the flood. And this actually embodies a new form of electronic literature that Rob Wittig and I are calling NetProv. Online improvised network literature, fiction, drama. We kind of change what it stands for pretty much every time we talk about it. But we did a piece this past spring called Grace, Wit, and Charm, which a lot of you guys may have seen. And that, of course, took place almost entirely on Twitter. We find Twitter to be a pretty fecund medium for this sort of thing. All right, so now, that's that. And again, all this is available online if you ever want to sit there and scroll for a while. Okay, so, we'll get a few things started.
A flood has hit Los Angeles. It is spilling deeper across streets, yards, roads. A disaster is unfolding across the city, and voices are being heard on cell phones from the epicenter and beyond. You have reached the LA Flood Project, an extensive located media narrative coming soon to Los Angeles.
He promised he would never again destroy the world with water. Not the water of our tears, not the water lapping at our shores with wave upon wave of immigrants, not the water that washes us clean, not the great healing waters of the Jordan, not the waters of our baptism, not the waters from the water cannon. They turned on us because they can't contain his people. He promised he would never again destroy the world with water, but he could douse it a little, rinse it off, let it soak like the Sunday dishes, the gritty frying pans of our souls.
Hosanna, Hosanna, Hosanna en el cielo. Oh, Jesús, qué servicio tan lindo. Oh, el fuego del Espíritu Santo. Jesús Cristo. Oh, my heart is full, and that music. Alejandro on the drums. Wow. Música de los santos. If only it could have a little more cowbell. Stay out of their yard, mija. Stay on the road. What did I tell you? Mija, are you okay? And now look at your dress. It's all wet. Mi hija mojada. ¿Te hiciste pipí? Have you wet yourself? Por Dios, tienes 6 años. Don't you think you're a little too old for this? No te da vergüenza tan grandota. You should be ashamed. ¿Cuál agua? The ground is wet? There are no sprinklers here. This isn't Glendale. We don't have the Evian sprinkling on our lawns. We just have that river. Our concrete Jordan. Rio Grande. What an eyesore. Just another border. Another stay on this side. No. I don't believe it. It's okay, mija. You'll grow out of it. Stop blaming the ground. I don't believe you. Let me feel. Okay, what is this? You're right. Look, your foot just sinks in that mud. Where is it coming from? Something is wrong. Something's wrong. Ay, Virgencita, ruega por nosotros. Jaime, go wake your uncle and cousin and tell them to start the truck.
So, what I haven't told you, I always remember things I haven't told you. After the fact, the LA Flood Project is made up of this, one part of it is this Google map that's got embedded at these locations around Los Angeles. And for each location that we've written for, there are 3 stages of the flood. One when the water first starts to drop, one when the water is as high as people can possibly imagine, and then a third one that is after the water's receded. And so those are all narrated by a guy named Jim Holmes, although they're written by different authors, and you could usually see the author tags at the bottom of them. And then the second part of the story is a series of point of view characters. And again, I guess we were really, you can think of the LA Flood Project as, I guess, hurricane. You have to mix 2 things when you describe things in Los Angeles, because otherwise people don't understand it. So it's like Hurricane Katrina meets War of the Worlds meets Twilight. Now I used to just say Twilight, but now I have to say Twilight Los Angeles, so everybody knows I'm talking about Anna Devere Smith and not vampires. So I don't think we don't have any vampires in this just yet, but there are some, interesting things. So I'll let it play on it. And again, what I'm doing is I'm navigating, because I know that you can multitask, and I don't want you to be tweeting during this. I'm giving you different text than is currently playing on the audio. Actually, Now I'm actually getting a different audio from, as far as I can tell, from Lori's playlist.
Used tropical. You should. There are no sale. We don't have an eyesore border. Amy, no. Out. I don't go foot. You're right. Look, your foot just sinks in that mud. Where is it coming from? Something is wrong. Something's wrong. Ay, Virgencita, ruega por nosotros. Jaime, go wake your uncle and cousin and tell them to start the truck.
San Antonio Winery, Stage 2. The restaurant and the winery is windowless and restful. The guitarist sings tourist songs in Spanish. The artistes drink wine and pool their funds for lunch. The dress shirt boys pop beers and try to expense everything. There are empty tables where the busloads of church ladies should have been. Cell phones ring and sing and jangle suddenly all at once just before a huge cask cracks in the blood's first crush. Jim Henson's studios on La Brea. There he stands, the lone verdant sentinel overlooking the swamp before him. The brackish waters that have risen almost to his feet are littered with the bodies of his friends. Many members were spared, on location at a desert shoot for some new major network holiday extravaganza, but a few were left behind. Mostly the Sesame Street crowd. Pastor, who was genuinely surprised his can could float, rescued about 132 rats, though it was doubtful all would survive the stench of the enclosed space. Snuffleupagus had waded out valiantly, trudging his sopping and sooty mass into that water, Big Bird astride his back, looking so much the hero, like Sean Penn after Katrina. They've no one to see either of them for at least 48 hours. Sam the Eagle is perched atop the mossy shingles, a single tear down his cheek for the nest of Muppet eggs he could not save. Time, declares the frog gravely, to light the lights, and a single beam illuminates vast, fuzzy Muppet carnage. What could it be? Piggy?
When the water starts coming up on the floor, the women cry. The director cries for the art that could not save. Then she gets strong and sends each car driving to the high ground.
Now, I should mention, this monologue takes place at the California African American Museum of Art.
A caravan of cars en route to an artist on a mountain in a place called Altadena. I never say my story. I never say in Senegal, in my village, we are artists too. When the sweet girl asked me about school, I talk learning English and accounting, but I don't say I wish I never come to America. Too much talk and no touch, and people looking through me. So I paint pictures to keep my village with me and my home. My little room is sun and the faces of my people, and everything I remember is on my walls. This sweet girl and the art in this museum, faces that look like me, but are not my face. Stories I know that are not my story, and this my museum are living in Los Angeles. Everything else, even school, is dead with a smiling face. I security at the bank, no one even look at me once. I security at a mall and my heart hurt every day. This museum is my happy fortune, and I cry like the women for the art.
We were all in a close circle holding hands until the water came up higher. Y lo siento tanto. I was so afraid. No aguantaba mi miedo. Perdóname. I'm so sorry. I let go of all of my compañeros and the mothers holding their little ones in their arms. All of us still in our penachos and our feathers, casi desnudos. I felt horrible, so ashamed. Tanta pena que me clavaba en el pecho. I climbed the rail, me subí por el pilar y vi con horror cuando los demás fueron llevados por el agua. They only came to do danza azteca, como siempre, y el agua se los llevó. Oh Dios, Dios, my God, y como yo, un cobarde, like a coward climbing higher and higher up here to the top, and el pico del kiosco, and the water keeps coming. ¿Cómo es posible? Chacmul, ya párale, por favor, stop the rain. Te lo ruego, te lo suplico. You're killing your own people, tus hijos indígenas como yo, the poor people, all of us, zapotecas y mixtecas y mayas. We only come here to work, to feed our pueblos at home.
Okay, and I will stop there. Thank you very much.
Next up, we have Brian Kim Steffens, who is the author of 5 books of poetry, including What Is Said, The Poet Concerning Flowers. This is 2006. Cluj, A Meditation from 2007, along with Before Starting Over, and also Fashionable Noise on Digital Poetics. He teaches new media poetry in the English department at UCLA, and digital works include The Dream Life of Letters and Cluj, A Meditation. He's been involved with a couple really excellent recent projects, including a column, Third Hand Plays, for the SF MoMA blog on digital text art, and a 10-part column for the Los Angeles Review of Books on the history of LA poetry. Here's Brian.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for staying so late. I feel like I'm in a late night comedy club right now. So I'd like to be able to show you 2 pieces of work. The first one might take a little while. Well, I won't explain it, but this is called Cluj, A Meditation. This is an older piece. The idea is that, well, there are a lot of ideas, but one is to kind of work on a verse form that is exactly 60 characters across and 20 characters down. As you can see, this is the instruction sheet, which I'm not going to force you to read. The other kind of a game here is to actually, I think video games have kind of taken a hold on electronic literature. So the idea is, well, what would a literary game involve? And certainly when you play a video game, one of the key elements is desire. So I wanted to create a piece where you were encouraged to play simply because you wanted to read. So I wrote texts that would involve a lot of sex, dirty words, in this case, all kinds of things. So it's a text of 3 sets of 12 paragraphs each. This is actually from the 3rd season called Howard and Sonia. And so the idea is that you would play, and then as you're playing, you would read and then you would play, and as you clean up, new text would come in, and of course, if you haven't finished reading yet, it would screw up the text, so you'd end up having these kind of amalgams. So the idea is that you want to play as cleanly as you can because you want to read so badly. And what I tried to do was make each succeeding paragraph somewhat based on the prior paragraph. So there's all kinds of allusions to minimalist music and all this other stuff, which I won't bother to tell you about. If you get really bad, if you really screw it up, you get the smart bomb, which would kill everything. Like Steve Jobs has already informed you, Flash doesn't work very well on the Mac. And there were all kinds of other things. So you could increase the number of rows that actually disappear as you play. So now now it's actually killing 9 rows instead of just 1. You could cheat and just kind of progress through the text, but then it would add more typos. So I thought I would read 2 paragraphs from the section called Harold and Sonia, which is based on the letters of H.P. Lovecraft. I don't know if you know him, but he was a great writer from Providence, Rhode Island, which is where I wrote this. And he was a racist. He had interesting tastes in food. His wife was living in New York at the time as a hat maker, and he couldn't stand that because there were people of not just color, but European people. And I found this website that described his food taste. So I wanted to read the 2 paragraphs that actually involve the transition from when he goes from not being a racist to a racist. From being racist to not being a racist. So these are love letters. Sonia, 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 thanks for the cheese, which I'll not eat because it's Greek. And thanks for the letter, which I'll reread for the next week until the cheese doth wilt in my heart, which is weak. Fond of sausage, most especially the old-fashioned baked or fried sort, like fowl, but only the white meat. Dark meat I can't bear, but I think you know that already. And I'm not talking about immigrants, green or yellow or Lebanese, much as it frees my liberalism. Really favorite meal is the regular old New England turkey dinner with highly seasoned dressing, cranberry sauce, onions, etc., and mince pie for dessert. Yum. Did I just type yum? Let me start again. I wander Rhode Island, inventing it. After all, I am Providence, which is actually on his gravestone, a True Love Press gravestone's I am Providence. Find poetry in the common, vulgar way neighborhoods shoot up, procreate, or decay. You say it's my brain. It is really a love for the horror of life, how it plies my gut into writing. I'm writing to say plainly, this is my love for you. You make a spring of me, and though affectations can be dangerous, as Gertrude Stein says, you must understand me. I don't despise the Greeks, but the Cape Verdean population makes me crazy. And you are Sonia Green. By the way, that Gertrude Stein line, which actually is a very cruel line about the death of Isadora Duncan, who was beheaded because she had this scarf which she flew over her neck, which ended up in a tire, which then beheaded her, and Stein's response was, affectations can be dangerous, which is horrible. Anyway, so then the next paragraph goes, Sonia, 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 thanks for the cheese, which I'll eat, because you are Sonia Green. And thanks to the letter, which I have read many times this week, in Greek, Ukrainian, French, and yes, Portuguese. I've even read it in Jewish. I am a completist. However, still fond of sausage. One cannot change one's stripes. Yummy. Did I just type yummy, too? Let me start again. I wander the island, inventing it. I am Providence, and find poetry in the coarse, aching way the neighbors ask me for money. You say it's my Defoe brain. I am nothing of an islander if I am not imaginatively alone, a lantern-jawed Edwardian Crusoe. Maybe. Affectations can be dangerous, I'm well aware. Yes, that's Stein. But it is also an addiction to the high horrors of life that emerge only in the pristine solitude, a type that is rare, found only in the bleeding of history into rot that is New England. I'm even beginning to like Cape Verdeans, and the tattooed swords that stumble down Empire Street can almost make me desecrate my celibacy. I am kidding. I am writing to write floridly. You are my crisis, my one, and hence my dilemma. You make a spring of all, and I have a son of mud. So, let's get married. Anyway, so that's some of the text, but I soon learned, and I should have known this ahead of time, that people don't play video games because they want to read. So what I ended up doing was creating a series of what you might call poetry generators out of this piece, which would create new text out of the pre-existing text. So for instance, if you hit the S, you get the New York sonnet, which I won't read, but it's kind of a sonnet in the style of Ted Berrigan, and it's based on the various texts that appear in this thing. If you hit the H, you get Fort B.P. Nickel, who's a Canadian country poet whose favorite letter was letter H. So every time you hit the H, you get a different version of letter H. If you hit, the J, you get Japanese Garden, which is supposed to be kind of a haiku. It's basically probably not unlike Nick's text generators. It just more or less takes two sentences out of the text and gives you something like, I have something to say to you. Sustains me, so it's very profound. And the music resistance is I actually programmed a version of, actually I don't know if I can play this on the, Jesus, sorry. This is like it's Breakout, but I can't, because of the, is the paddle moving? Wait, hold on. There you go, look at that. Oh, jeez, there we go. We'll do it one more time. Oh, motherfucker. Okay, there you go. So, you can play Breakout with the text. The text will increase. You continue to read the text as you're playing, blah, 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 blah. So that's that. And the next piece I'm going to show you is just purely visual. It was an attempt. Fred Waugh is in the room, by the way, a great Canadian poet. And because it's Fred Waugh. I mean, because it is Fred Waugh, but because so I wanted to. Like Fred, I have Asian parents, and I wanted to create. I think one of my impetuses with digital poetry is to create a visual poetics, and so I wanted to create a very gestural type of electronic literature. So I wanted to kind of reinvent the typeface as something that looks like it was drawn by as a doodle or something. So I came up with this idea, which you'll see, which I won't describe necessarily. And the text is, I think one of the The idea was that the text would actually be drawn from the internet, and that this would become kind of an eternal projection that could, somehow offer continuous commentary on the world. But really, as it is now, it's just based on a New York Times article from about, I don't know how many years ago, but you'll see it when you see the text. And the music is from a 1919 piano piece called "Suicide in an Airplane" by Leo. I can't remember his last name, you'll see in a second, but he's the guy that invented that technique with the pianos where you just throw your forearms down on the Leo. Oh fuck. Well, anyway, so here you go. Ornstein. By the way, this is all algorithmically generated, so this isn't a movie. It's numbers and random numbers and text being pulled randomly from the article and so forth. That enhances your viewing pleasure. Thank you.